tracking, alert button, end-to-end encrypted chat and voice, and risk self-assessment. These are the features of this app. We're gonna go through them a little bit more in detail later on, but these are the features of this app. And the idea of this app, I don't know what happened, okay? Once again, the idea behind is security and privacy. Securing our communications and make anonymous our communication as well. And to finalize on this short presentation, just a quote from Edward Snowden that highlight the importance of this application. I don't want to live in a world where everything that I say, everything I do, everything I talk to, every expression of creativity or love or friendship is recorded. This is somehow what is behind of this app. It's a free software project, as I say, being developed by several organizations, and we have a web page available so you can go there and know more about, although we're going to explain here what is the application more in detail and how it emerged, how we came up with this idea. And also, if you, after we finish this session, you have more questions about the app, you can come to us and ask those questions, but you also can write to us on this email. So now I'm gonna pass the word to Diego, who will talk a little bit more on how this application was conceived.
Thanks, Amelia.
Give me 1 second, sorry. To the people that are that far, can you come closer, because this is a conversation between friends and we don't want to see you that far. If you come here and join us in the round table, that will be better. This is a very short session. This is the worst setting we can have for this presentation of this app. So make us feel a little bit better by coming closer to us, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Amalia. Yeah, let me tell you a bit about the inception of this project. I'm Diego Mendiburu. I'm one of the founders of a Mexican NGO named Factual. We basically create networks of journalists so they can learn from each other and they can learn about new technologies that can help them do their work better, in a better way. So basically, as you may already know, Mexico is one of the most dangerous countries to do journalism in. Basically, more than 55 journalists have been killed since 2010 in Mexico, according to the Inter-American Human Rights Commission. So that was the context we started this project around 3 years ago. And we realized that even the most experienced journalists, those that were winning awards for their incredible journalistic pieces, they didn't even know that there were NGOs out there that could help them create security protocols in order to avoid dangerous situations or just to plan their trips to dangerous areas of the country in a better way. So we thought that there was a need for a sort of a tool that would connect those journalists with NGOs in Mexico, at least, such as Article 19, the Committee to Protect Journalists, Freedom House, etc. And we also realized that one of the recommendations that these NGOs gave to journalists was that once they were traveling inside the country towards dangerous areas, they would have to send constantly instant messages to their families, friends, editors, sending their location and basically a message saying, I'm okay, I have already reached this part of the trip. So we thought, hey, there must be a better way to do this automatically using technology. And then a friend of mine who started this project with me, Ella, got kidnapped in one of the most dangerous states in Mexico, Michoacan. She was kidnapped for 4 hours because she was covering a story on a territory that was being basically controlled by organized crime. And after that, after she was released, there was an 8-hour trip towards the closest city. So during those 8 hours, in the middle of the night, she was sending me each hour a message telling me that she was okay. So that's the moment we knew we had to do this. There was a more efficient way to do this using technology. So we also realized that it's not technology by itself that is going to solve the issue of dangerous situations for journalists. We need to connect them with NGOs that can help them create the security protocols that would lessen or minimize the danger they could face in such difficult and dangerous scenarios as the one that they are living in Mexico, and also in other countries such as Colombia. So basically in Mexico, although we tried to approach and present this project, and we did present this project to several NGOs, it was only the FLIP, la Fundación para la Libertad de Prensa in Colombia, the Freedom of Press Foundation in Colombia, the only one that took this project and really tried to push this and implement it in Colombia with the help of Fundación Carisma. So I'm very proud to introduce Jonathan Bock, that will tell us about the work that the FLIP is doing, and the idea of making this much more than a technological project, but also a project that can help journalists create better protocols to protect themselves, to auto-protect themselves, to have journalists organize themselves and not depend on others for their security, but use tools like this to connect with each other before and during a dangerous trip or a dangerous assignment. And just use technology as a pretext to train journalists in several technologies such as protect themselves digitally, but also physically and in different scenarios. So please, Jonathan, tell us about the work with the FLIP.
Thanks, Diego. Hi, I'm Jonathan, and I work for the Freedom Press Foundation, FLIP. It's based in Bogota, in Colombia. The FLIP is a foundation that has been working with journalists to enhance their safety in Colombia for journalists for more than 19 years. It was created by Gabriel Garcia Marquez and a group of journalists who were terrified by the high number of journalists who were killed every year. Colombia is a country that in the last 3 decades has been in the top 10 of the most dangerous places in the world for journalists. And that year, 1996, the number of murders was one of the highest in Colombian history. Why I'm telling you this? Because the safety of journalists is one of the most important issues that directly affect daily the work of journalists. However, in today's scenario, we see that the type of attacks against the press have changed, and the challenges in terms of security are different and involve new strategies. That is why the FLIP has decided to bet and invest in Hancel, because it's a value app that combines technological tools and prevention strategy, focusing on 3 aspects: by immediately assessing the risk of journalists, by reducing the chances of communication surveillance, and finally, by generating pedagogy to take protection actions. The last 2 issues I just mentioned, surveillance of communication and the creation of a culture of self-protection, are essentials in the Colombian context. Last month, we conducted a poll with more than 600 journalists from around the country, and 20% claimed to have been monitored by state agents. Another scandal that shows the size of the problem took place in early 2015, when it was discovered that communications were intercepted more than 200 journalists who were covering the peace process between the government and the guerrillas FARC. The second concern is the lack of culture to take preventive actions. Also, in the past 40 years, 144 journalists have been killed. Reporters continue doing their work as if they were lone wolves, without taking prevention measures. Neither journalists or media think of prevention as the first step to reduce the risk. During this 3 years process that Diego described, we have spoken with journalists from different countries that share a similar context to the Colombian, and believe that a tool like Hancel will be essential for their daily work. And it was this need that has motivated us to continue this process, where we have gained valuable lessons that make us think that this is a successful path that can help reduce the risk of journalists, both in Colombia and other parts of the world. Now Gloria is going to talk about the app and the functions that it can help the journalists.
Before going to Gloria, I want to ask Diego, because you probably are asking yourself where this name comes from, Hancel, and I want him to tell a little bit the story where this name comes from.
Well, basically, it comes from this famous children's story, Hansel and Gretel. And as you probably know, they leave a path of breadcrumbs as they approach the house of the witch, so they can know the path towards home, the safety, basically. So we just modified, obviously, with the S and changed it for C as a cell phone. And I believe Brazilians here will know the story more as Joao and Maria's story. So that's Hansel and Gretel.
Thank you, Diego.
No pressure.
Now, Gloria is the developer of this app as it is today. She is from Colombia. She is part of the Mozilla community in Colombia. She also collaborates with Fundación Carisma, and she's a free software activist. So I present to you Gloria Meneses, who will talk a little bit more of the functions and features of this application.
Thanks, Amalia. Thanks, Diego and Jonathan. Well, I will explain you the Hancel functionalities a bit more deeply. We can starting with a very important functionality that is the trust rings. Trust rings are a group of contacts you trust, of course, like family, relatives, friends, or key contacts like your boss, your editor, some organizations, who will receive an alert message by SMS in case you are in danger. This feature is really done in our application, but actually we can see all the contacts in a ring, and this is not too much private. So we are looking for a way to be this anonymous and allow the creation of contacts in a ring in an anonymous way by an invitation link or something similar. We are in this moment researching a different way, a second alternative. Other functionality is the location tracking. The location tracking allows to share the location in a period of time defined by yourself or by the user. This tracking information is an anonymous link that can be shared with your selected contacts, and you can open it using Hancel application. This functionality is already done, but we will improve this functionality, allowing to share the tracking location by a web browser in order to share the link using social networks, email, or something, or other functionalities in your cell phone. The most important one is the alert button. The alert button can be activated in two ways. One way is by, let me show you. The first way is by software, using or pressing the button. And the second way is by hardware, just pressing 5 times, very, very fast, the power button. This functionality will send an SMS message to your contacts, informing about your location, the power level, and a small and short message saying you are in danger, please call somebody or advise to authorities. There is another functionality that we are thinking to develop, and is the alert by absence. This functionality will inform to all your active rings or people in your rings when you have been absent for a long time, because maybe something happened and you couldn't have the opportunity to use the alarm button. And this feature is not developed yet. We are investing in, and the next one is a point-to-point chat, encrypted chat. In the past, Hancel used to have an encrypted chat, but it was not anonymous, and we use Limphone, that is a communication server, as intermediate. But this is not too much private because all your communications is in the service of other company that is open source, but anyway, is other company. And in this moment, we are looking for alternatives to avoid intermediate servers, allowing more anonymously and increasing the security. And we always having in mind to keep the chat encrypted and the secure channels, sending the communication by HTTPS. And the other functionality is the point-to-point voice. That's similar to chat. We used to have Limphone as intermediate because we need a voice server, but it's the same problem. All the users' data is in the Limphone servers. Actually, we are looking and researching for alternatives in order to keep this communication without intermediates, more private, more secure, and anonymous. This functionality could be similar to Toast-to-Talk, like in other applications like Telegram or WhatsApp. But the possibility we love and we want is to have a real IP voice by a secure channel. Okay, the target or Hancel, as Amalia said, is to increase the personal security and privacy in communication, not just for journalists, but also for everyone who use Hancel. At the first was oriented to journalists, but we are trying to open more the application. If you are interested on a test or to check the application, we will have hosted in the Tactical Tech stand. And we will have a launching very soon, but just for a closed list of people because we are in this moment very beta. If you want to be part of this list of people who will test the application, please email us or contact us in the event, and we will add you to the list. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Gloria. I really want to thank Gloria because she's been working on this application for a very long time, and she's been doing a great work here with two other developers that we have had during this whole development process, and it's a lot of effort, and she's doing it mostly because she believes in this app. They are doing it mostly because they believe in this app. So I really want to thank you to Gloria for her work. And now we have invited also Guilherme Canela from UNESCO to make the connection with the work that UNESCO is doing on the protection for journalists. So please, Guilherme.
Thank you, Amalia, and it's a pleasure to be in this session. Actually, my comments will be very brief. To say first, threats to journalists are very, very serious. I mean, we are unfortunately watching a rise in the number of killings, which is the severe case of violence against journalists, but the number of kidnappings, threats, psychological threats, digital threats are increasing everywhere. Indeed, they are particularly high in Latin America. And that because of this phenomena, for the first time in history, all the United Nations agencies, funds, and programs decided to create a UN plan of action on the issue of violence against journalists and fighting impunity. In 2012, all the agencies, funds, and programs have signed this plan. And the plan is basically focusing three big areas: prevention, protection, and the fight against impunity. However, public policies in many parts of the world are concentrating very much in the issue of protection, which of course is very important, but this is just to solve the emergency. Taking a journalist out of his or her area to protect his or her life is very important, but this generates an additional problem. Who is going to report on the very important issues in that particular area if the journalist, the blogger, the social communicator was taken out of the area? That said, the prevention strategies are fundamental and pivotal for this. And this kind of app is exactly that. So we are looking forward, when I say we, United Nations and particularly UNESCO, that is the leading agents for this issue, on more prevention strategies, on more prevention tools like this one. Just 2 words to finalize. As they said, privacy issue is very important in this kind of tool, so we strongly recommend to keep developing all the security measures to guarantee the privacy of those that are using this tool, because this is fundamental for the very issue we are discussing here, that is the security of journalists and others. The second issue is this tool, as they said, can be also useful for other human rights defenders, not only journalists. So I strongly recommend you to share this initiative with other groups dealing with human rights defender security. And finally, I thought you should have maintained the gender balance of the initial Hancel and Gretel story and not taking the woman out of the title. But anyway, this is just a comment. Thanks a lot.
Well, as I said at the beginning, this is a very short session. Thank you very much for being here. I don't think we have time. They are actually kicking me out of here, all of us. So we don't have more time for asking for questions or anything like that. But we are available. You can approach us and ask questions. Once again, the app is going to be available at the Play Store, but it will be closed for closed list. So if you are interested on testing this beta app, please approach to us, write to our contact email, and also, once again, so we're gonna be at the Tactical Tech stand to do some demo with the app, so you can join us also there to see how the app works. Thank you very much for joining us today.